Welcome back, everybody, to 0 Point Reviews. We got a fun one for you this week, starring Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff, and directed by Stephen Norrington. We got a few Steves going on, but we don't have our two usual Steves. But let's get right on into it. 1998, here we come.
You keep your eyes open. They're everywhere. A secret nation of evil.
Tonight, the age of man comes to an end.
A war to save our world.
Played myself, killed as many of them as we can find.
A hero who knows no fear.
He makes the weapons. I use them.
Wesley Snipes. Stephen Dorff. Blade. Rated R. Starts Friday, August 21st.
The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
You will suffer an eternity for this.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Kevin, he asked a question. Are you out of your damn mind?
I am.
God, I love this movie.
Where was I when this was in the theater? Like, I know you're supposed to ask me that question, but I'm sitting here watching this trailer and I'm like, where the fuck was I when this was in the theater? Because I was working in the theater, at least I thought. So like, maybe this is in that brief period where I went to college. Brief. But yeah, no, I did not see this one in the theater.
Really? Did you get this more like when it was on like VHS or DVD? This was kind of around that time when DVD was starting, but like I specifically know that I saw this in theaters. I bought the VHS tape. The next year, I think I bought the DVD, which was the old snapper cases from fucking Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Little cardboard sleeves with the plastic that goes over. So any of you old time physical media collectors, you pretty much know what we're talking about with that. And eventually I'd buy the Blu-ray, and it's on 4K now. So
Don't forget
I don't
you had to
have
flip
that,
the disc
though.
over.
Oh God, the old flipper disc. Yep. That was the DVD.
Oh, that's what you meant. Yeah, that flipper. I thought you meant the cover itself having to flip that plastic bar over.
Let me double check. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, this DVD was not a flipper.
No, okay.
But I know there were flippers of this thing.
Oh, is this because this was under New Line's umbrella and not Warner Brothers?
I think so, but I'm not entirely positive. So everybody, if you're also curious about what the hell we're talking about, discs used to have the full screen format and the widescreen format on opposite sides, and you could flip them, or they would put all the special features on the other side of the disc instead of doing two discs. So.
And prior to that, you could listen to a story on a 45 record, and when it would want you to turn the page on the book that you were staring along with, it would say, and at the sound of the chime, turn the page. And that's kind of like what watching Goodfellas was like in the old WB discs.
Yeah.
The sound of the chime flipped the movie over.
I know they had something like that with laser discs too, where it came with 3 discs, and then it would come right up to a certain point of the movie and go, ding, ding, ding. You will need to remove your disc and insert disc 2 in order to continue with this movie. You'd have to then get up, go over, flip them out, and there you go.
You know what was my favorite was on the old VHSs of, say, like The Godfather or The Greatest Story Ever Told, Ben-Hur, any of those old like 2 VHS set movies.
Titanic was the big one.
I don't know if Titanic did it, but it was like the 60s and 70s and maybe an 80s movie. They would have an intermission. And so instead of credits at the end of the first disc, there would actually be X amount of time where it would say intermission.
Yeah.
Just go put in the other cassette, motherfucker. Go on. What are you doing?
Yeah, don't sit around waiting for that. I mean, if you want to go grab yourself popcorn, use the bathroom real quick, and then come back and then swap them out, hey, there you go. It works that way.
I mean, you could just hit rewind and go make your popcorn. And by the time that's done, you swap your discs out and this one's in whatever.
Or if you
It-
were crazy like others, like me, you had like 2 VCRs, so you already had the second one ready to roll.
Good God Almighty. Seamless viewing.
I'm right, baby. All right, everybody, before we get into the good, the bad, and now the judgment, yes, we are judging you and we are judging this movie. We're going to do a quick little housekeeping spiel. So if you like our content, hey, come on and hit that like button down below. Got any comments, memories, anything about Blade? Hey, throw them down below. We do check our comments. And also hit that subscribe button down below. We're working our way towards 7,000. So come on, everybody. We would appreciate it if you help us get there. Or we will send Blade after you.
And he's pissed all the time. So just expect that.
Don't be ice skating up a hill. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and judge this bitch.
The good.
Yeah.
You know, I hate this picture.
I wondered why you fucking picked it too.
It's so cheesy, but it's better than the picture of him going, yeah. Like, that's the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in a movie. And you see it in anime all the time. Yeah.
Or Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, like, for real? Like, oh.
Well, I remember watching this movie in the theaters, and when he's doing the fun little poses like that, like I remember everybody cracking the fuck up at that. It was super funny back then. It wasn't a cliche or a trope at that point.
No, not necessarily. It was a step up from "I'll be back" is really what it was. It was a step up from the cliche catchphrase.
That's true,
but not a very high step up.
Well, I liked it that he was impressed by himself. Like, that actually turned out better than I thought. It's like,
yeah, he's got people pinned up on the wall. He's like, you know what? Michael Myers was right. That is pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh, that would have been funny with a head tilt. Oh, better take another shot.
I like it.
Poor Donald Logue.
He gets so fucked up in this movie. Like,
oh my god, he's like the Sean Bean character that just keeps getting his ass kicked.
I mean, between getting his hand cut off, his throat,
his other
torn
hand
out,
cut off,
yeah, burned alive, I guess, sort of.
Only to get toasted in like 5 seconds at the end.
So beautiful. Donald Logue, I don't know if this was the first thing I ever saw him in, but this is the first thing I ever remember seeing him in because he was so impressive in it.
Same.
That I remember him going forward.
Yeah, like anytime I think about him after this, it's like I know him from Blade.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen him in like a ton of other things. He was in the TV show Gotham is the most recent thing I remember him in.
I didn't watch Gotham. It wasn't necessarily my thing. Like I watched most of the first season.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It just wasn't my thing, but I thought he was brilliant as Dent. Not Dent.
Bullock.
Bullock. Yeah, I was thinking Harvey. I thought he was perfect casting. Like who else would you get? Truly.
Oh yeah. Casting aside, he was great.
His role in Ghost Rider is fucking amazing. I love it.
I need to rewatch that. I just got that on Blu-ray, so I'm gonna be checking that out next because once we're done with Blade 2 and the TV show, that's my idea is to hit up Ghost Rider. So
you're a brave man.
I like him.
Well, you need to get all that super superstitious or supernatural shit in there before the end of Agatha. I know you're not watching it, but I'll force it to you vicariously.
God damn it. Send Blade after that bitch. Or maybe that's already happened in the comics. I don't know.
Blade was supposed to go after not Agatha, but Lilith, the Queen of the Demons.
Okay.
That was a missed opportunity. And they're going to put that villain in the new Blade movie. She's supposed to be Mia
Mm.
Goth. That's who Mia Goth is supposed to be.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm down for that, but you need to get all those other supernatural superheroes and shit to go fight out. She's like their Thanos. So just throwing Blade at her is kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Now, what did you think of Stephen Dorff in this one and eventually turning into La Magra?
Well,
Since we're on the villain topic, we might as well just get right to it. I like Stephen Dorff and I really liked him as Frost, but yeah, when they went to La Magra, I'm like, you're kind of losing me here.
he was pretty great, despite the fact that when I first saw this, I couldn't help but think to myself, isn't that Bud Bundy's friend? Look it up. It's he was pretty fantastic. He plays his character flawlessly. When they get to La Magra, that's when they were like, oh fuck, the budget. We didn't think about that part, did we?
Well, and they shot some of it and they didn't like how it was turning out. So they decided, now we're just going to have La Magra possess the body of Frost. So,
yeah.
and at least we got a fun, like, sword scene until the CGI stuff started happening. And then that's when it started to lose me.
Yeah. Cause I mean, the fight scenes in this movie are bar none.
Double chef's kiss on this.
There was nothing better at this time than Blade. Like, this movie kicked every action sequence's ass.
Absolutely. Well, and when you get to the actual fight choreography, Wesley Snipes was heavily involved with it. It's like a double credit with the actual fight choreographer with Wesley. It tells you how involved he was in actually making this happen.
Yeah, like I know we say we've got good, we've got bad. There's no ugly to this. There is no ugly to this picture. There's not a lot of bad to this picture. But when it comes to the fighting choreography, the sincerity of the character, the love of the character that Wesley had.
Oh,
like,
yes.
There is no disrespecting this picture. It's damn near perfect.
Absolutely. That's why I mean, I'll save it for judgment, but I absolutely adore this movie. I went and saw this in the theaters like several times.
Oh, wow.
Like back when it first came out, it was just like, man, that was really fun. I want to see it again. So I went right back into the other theater screen that was playing it and sat right down. And then I went back on other days and I properly paid for my ticket. But I enjoyed seeing this movie so much. I got like a poster. I had a Daywalker sword at one point until it got broke somehow. Then I had to get rid of it. I know that was heartbreaking, but goddamn. I mean, you could still get a Daywalker sword. You could still get the glaive. The merchandise is still kind of out there, and you could still get an original poster and whatnot. But I was such a fan of this movie. I got into some of the swaggy things, and then I read some of the comic books, and I'm like, I think I like the movie way better than I like some of the comic books.
Not often, but sometimes Marvel movies have a character that comes out to be cooler than what the comic book character is.
Yes.
This was one of those first times that they did that. Howard the Duck was not one of those times. Close.
No.
But not cooler than the comic book version.
I hate that movie.
Fuck you.
Hey, buddy.
The X-Men movies were not that movie.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was not that movie. This really was. Like, I like Blade in the movie a lot more than Blade in the comics.
Yep. It's Blade killing vampires. The story beats are pretty good. The action, the movie is just so well directed and put together that, when you do get some things that don't exactly like work for the movie, and we'll get to that like when we hit the bad segment, but for the most part, this movie is so well done. The soundtrack is amazing. You got techno, you got some hard rock, you got a little bit of like a great mix for a soundtrack, and you also have a great score going on. So the movie always makes you feel like the movie's always moving. Even when it slows down, the soundtrack and the scenes, the way they flow, it feels like something's always happening, even though it's not. Like when Whistler is injured and Blade's just standing there kind of eyeing him up and trying to dab up some of his blood. It's like you might feel that would slow the movie down. It really doesn't, even though it is a slow scene, but it feels like you're getting information and an emotional moment out of Blade, which is rare in this movie. And when it does happen, it's very impactful and it's very powerful, and it really drives the movie forward and actually gives you this movie has heart to it, actually, and it's beyond the actual human characters, and that's great to see out of Blade. And I would also say your hero is only as good as his villain, and Wesley Snipes opposite Stephen Dorff, chef's kiss, baby.
Yeah, like he was for being young looking, they wrote him savage and smart.
Yeah,
and he was scary. He was cool.
Goddamn right.
Despite looking young.
Right. But then they did initiate the conversation in the movie about how he ages like a normal human being. So there's some drawbacks to Blade being the Daywalker. Like he gets all their strengths, but none of their weaknesses, yet he ages at a human rate. But he also has to contend with the curse of the thirst. And so I like how that pays off because he's got a serum that he's doping himself up with. So it's showing that he's relying on some sort of an addictive property to keep him away from an even worse addiction. And that could give you a nice little subplot if you want to read into it that far about like fighting addiction and struggling against that. But the way it plays out with this plot is at the very end when he's been drained of blood. There is no serum. There is no nothing else. And if he doesn't drink the blood of somebody, he's dead, and this movie is fucking toast. And he drinks some blood and he just goes fucking... It's that moment of the second he releases the person that he's drinking the blood from. I don't know why I'm trying to think of spoilers here. We probably don't have to. But it's the doctor. And when he releases her and he screams out, you feel that primal... oh shit, things are about to get fucking nasty up in here. And they certainly do.
His nipples were hard.
Hey, he was shirtless. It was a little cold up in there too.
I'm not hungry anymore. I'm quite sated. Yeah, like that moment gave you the goosebumps. You knew
every time.
Yeah, it's like watching Rocky. It's you know how the movie's going to end, but you're sitting there excited watching it, not knowing what's going to happen at the same time, even though you've seen it 30 fucking times.
It makes these daddy's nipples hard.
That's the quality of these action scenes. Like,
yeah,
when it gets to the point where he's replenished himself with blood, you get the goosebumps because you know everybody's ass is about to get handed to them. Like,
right. It almost feels like he's been playing it just kind of like normal power. Now he's hitting like true overpower, full power. And it's like, oh shit. And the fight scenes get even more frantic and full of energy at this point. And it's just so fucking good. Wesley Snipes is an action star. And without this movie, we never would have gotten a Blade 2 or his, reappearance in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Or Blade Trinity.
What?
Beep.
Edit. Right
Beep.
there.
Beep.
No, I like him in Trinity, and we're covering Blade 2 next week, everybody. So just sit tight. We're going to be covering that one. And that's going to be more of an interesting story and review because there's actually quite a bit going on with that movie that doesn't quite work, but the movie is still pretty damn good in and of itself. But Trinity is just, it's rough, and so that's why a lot of us have been begging for a Blade 4 for years. And we're not counting Deadpool and Wolverine because he was mostly just a secondary character for a few minutes in it.
Yeah.
But it showed he still fucking had it. Never lost it.
No, he didn't. Like, he kicks ass. And you wondered that a little bit secretly inside. You're like, is the Daywalker going to be too old to do that shit now? No, he's not. He's still flipping that sword around and kicking ass like nobody's business. And it wasn't a stunt double. Like he was doing his own stunts. It was beautiful.
And even his own acting.
Yeah. That's was like surprising. Like, oh, he remembered how.
Hey, that's totally fine by me. Now, the thing that I remember with this movie, and I didn't really realize this, is that he was a huge fan of Black Panther. And because he couldn't get Black Panther off the ground, his second option was doing a Blade movie because he really liked them growing up as a kid. I'm almost thinking like, this was such a great choice. I'm glad he didn't get the Black Panther movie, and I hate to say that because I think he would have been fucking great as Black Panther. But without that, we never would have gotten this Blade, and I would gladly take this Blade every time.
I think it worked out the way history needed it to. Like because without Blade, without its attitude, we wouldn't have had the Matrix. We wouldn't have had X-Men.
People don't give enough credit to Blade for helping the comic book movies move along. Now, was it the one? No, but it proved you could do a darker, harder comic book movie and this was an R-rated movie, everybody. This was one of the very first successes of that. Just want to remind everybody about that.
Yeah, like they spared no expense. They even showed you the titty. Like the biggest titty you ever seen is in this
Pearl.
Granted, Pearl's a dude, but that's the biggest titty you ever done seen.
I remember the audience for this part too. In the first time we saw the whole picture of Pearl, everybody just went, "Oh!"
Oh,
It was like, "Whoa!" And underneath a Chinese restaurant or strip club of all places.
Oh, that's Pearl was just always one of my favorites, and then torturing him with the light and just like he could have stopped her from fucking with it. No, it was just a dope scene.
Yep, especially with her like flashing the light on him again, and she's like, "What? He moved." And Blade's just like, "That works."
I wasn't gonna judge you.
I thought the chemistry with everybody was pretty on point. So great job on the casting and great job like everybody working all together.
Let's remember that next week because we'll see if it works just as well next week. I think it does, but that's just
I think it does for the most part. I want to say with Blade 2, it's about 90% out of 100. This is about 100% out of 100 for me.
Fair enough.
For casting anyway.
Yeah. I'll give you that. Because read us.
I like Norman, but hey, who knows? Maybe a rewatch will change my mind. We'll see.
Anyway, this one.
It's hard not to reference the other movies, everybody, because like you can't help it. You want to talk Blade and you want to talk Blade 2 at the same time. But then, of course, comes up the little squiggly little detail of Blade Trinity and then the live action TV show.
Well, because it's when you talk about Blade, it's hard not to talk about Blade as a legacy. That's part of the problem. Because it truly is that. Like, the X-Men movies are a franchise. I think of Blade more of a legacy. Like, it's far less features, but they were all good. I don't care what anybody says about Trinity being like a terrible film. It was better than any of the bad X-Men movies. Like way better, way more watchable than the bad X-Men movies for me.
You're trying to get me to watch that one too. I don't know.
I don't want to watch it. I'm just saying.
Okay.
it had Triple H with the Pomeranian. Like,
oh, that's right. He was freshly shaved in that one.
Freshly shaved Triple H with a Pomeranian, brand new quadricep. So I like that part of the movie. The rest of it just.
So Udo Kier being him played.
I like him. I can't say nothing bad about him being the big bad vampire on the council.
Well, this is the movie that kind of introduces that idea that Ultraviolet would later pick up on in like spades, like the hierarchy of the vampire world and why they're so secretive, yet they got their little claws in just about everything. And Udo being like the tippy top guy that we're meeting in this movie worked very well because it shows like when Steven Dorff's character or Frost takes him out and then takes over the council and wants to use them all as sacrifices for La Magra. That makes it even better, that little detail.
Yeah. And watching them all be sacrificed and seeing the differences, how they're all dressed the same, but they all look so very different because of their nationalities.
Right.
And they did such a good job making them look so different and so ethnic, but not in a racial, like racist way. Like it was just, they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
As you said, chef kiss.
Chef kiss. Well, the hero never did kiss Karen, though. Dr. Karen.
Dr. Karen. Well, he bit her. That's, it's kind
Well,
of.
Blade never got the girl. He didn't even care about that part. Just make me a better serum.
Yeah, and she didn't do that. So, she had to go by the next movie.
Yeah.
She did not test well, which they should remember that. They should remember that before going on to this next picture and trying to write in his daughter or some other girl.
Oh, that shit, yeah.
Remember the first two girls that you had in these movies didn't test well. The third girl that you had in these movies didn't test well. It's not a misogynistic thing. It never worked out well because that's not who people are here to see. They're here to see Blade.
Yeah, Dr. Karen was, I wrote her down as just Dr. Karen. But I liked her enough just for this movie. Her as a regular character throughout the next two movies, I don't think would have worked very well. Even when you get to the TV show, you don't even have a doctor. You don't even have Whistler. You get somebody else completely brand new. And it's like, I don't know how I feel about this right now.
Yeah, it's off-putting. It's off-putting. And I got through the pilot, so I'm down to the first two episodes, and I'm kind of like, all right, we'll see where this goes. It's not bad.
Yep. I'm about 4 in, and I'm like, I like this, but when we discuss the TV show, I definitely have some opinions.
Yeah.
Because replacing Wesley is hard enough as it is.
I think they did okay. Sticky's all right so far for me.
Yeah, when he's being Blade, he's fine.
Yeah.
And by being Blade means being quiet and just kicking ass.
Otherwise, let Jill do the talking. Shut up.
I got opinions on her too, but
shut up. Shut your mouth, whore. She's beautiful.
They never tell me to shut my mouth. I like it when I scream, Kevin. Well, as far as like this goes, as say like a horror movie, I wouldn't go so far on being like, yeah, it's got great scares, but it does have enough blood and guts, and it's got a great opening rave scene that almost everybody always talks about being like, that's one of the coolest openings to a freaking movie of all time. Damn right it is. It's extremely beautiful, well shot, music's loud and powerful, and it's got the stunning Tracy Lords kicking it off for everybody.
That's true. And then getting kicked off. But this scene, like, did you expect it to get as violent as it did when you first saw it?
No, because I remember the commercial we played at the beginning is I remember that being on TV, and I remember like, a longer trailer at the time, but I don't remember much of them. I don't even know if it was on the Blu-ray I got, if it's got a trailer on it. I didn't even watch, but going into the movie, I'm like, oh, this should be kind of fun. It looks fun, looks good. Be some action. It's Wesley. Of course, it's going to have some action. Like we just had Demolition Man, Passenger 57, Major League. He's had his run as an action star, and this seems like, hey, this could be fun. Walk right in, and within like, what is it, 10, 12 minutes. It's a bloody shower, and he starts smoking bitches. I'm like, oh, I'm totally down for this.
Yeah, 10 minutes in and the kill count's 30, 40.
Yeah.
You're like, I lost count after the first 3 minutes.
Well, and I like the fact that he uses a sword. He definitely got some Asian influence to his fighting style, and he shoots bitches very well with a shotgun, and he's got his glaive. He's got some stakes that are fucking killer. I like that. And then eventually they get to the exposition where holy water and crosses don't do shit. Don't believe everything you see in the movies. It's like, bravo. That's all I needed was like a 1 minute explanation of everything.
Yeah, these things work, but these things don't. There we go.
Done.
There's your rules. Now go. And they set you off on this fun little adventure ride.
Yeah. One of the funniest parts I like is when you find out about the familiars and Karen's back at her apartment, and the idiot cop is in there trying to rag her back in, and she shoots the cop in the mouth with like the garlic spray. He's like, garlic? He said this would work on vampires. And then Blade proceeds to kick his ass and says, he's not a vampire.
And he just beats his ass like a cat would a mouse. With like complete confidence, control, accuracy. It was beautiful and tragic all at the same time.
Yep. Oh man, dialogue was really good.
He fucks him up.
I know.
Like he's got him with one hand, and then to shut him up, just like starts whooping his face.
We don't need no stinking dialogue in this scene. I'm kicking his ass. And he's like, I'm already talking. He's like, oh, okay.
And he was just some pussy bitch that wanted, what did he call him? A wannabe pussy bitch that wanted to be a vampire.
Yep. And then, chases him down, follows him to one of my favorite parts was that,
uses
Asian
her as
nightclub
bait.
scene.
Oh yeah, that was cool too.
Man, yeah, like the set designs and the locations, they kept everything pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was part of that ethnicity thing where it's like they brought multicultural into it without being racist, and it felt so inclusive. Like anybody could have been a vampire, like anybody's culture could have vampires in it, and it was just so fun no matter who you were. It wasn't like old European white people style.
No, it was pretty international.
Despite Udo being the fucking main guy.
Man, I like Udo. I remember when I first watched the movie, I'm like, oh, I know him. That's fun.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he gets exposed to the sun, and that's how he bites the dust.
Yeah, but not before they pull his fucking fangs out.
Oof, that was wicked.
Oh, God, that was so fuckered up. And then they're out there with like 3,000 SPF sunblock from RoboCop and motorcycle helmets on. Beautiful ass scene.
Yep. Well done. Well thought out. So regardless of what some of you may think about David Goyer, when you got a good director who can work off of a David Goyer script,
voyeur.
That's kind of what I think of him. He's more of a voyeur. He thinks he knows how to like shoot and produce movies, but he's really only just kind of an okay writer, and he needs a filter. So, but at least with this, you had Norrington who was understanding like how to make this script work, and you didn't have David Goyer over his head being like, "Hey, you gotta do it like this." Well, we saw how Blade Trinity turned out, Dave.
Yes,
Still the franchise.
Let's make Dracula grounded.
Yep. And I know he was part of the reason why we even got a Blade TV series. Sticky fingers. But still, at the same time, like he needs a filter. But, when you got Norrington and Guillermo del Toro adapting your script and actually putting it to screen, you got some talented directors right there who can actually do a really good job. And I'll just say, I really like Norrington's style just a tick better than Guillermo for Blade. But I like what Guillermo does in the second one.
Golly, I don't know how to respond to that.
We'll respond to that next week.
All right.
That's the catch for everybody. We've got to watch next week.
Wow.
Because Guillermo's got a very different style. He's more European, a little more atmospheric. Norrington was a bit more, we're going to have some fun with some settings. Going to have some fun with atmosphere, but this is an action movie where a vampire hunter is going to kill fucking vampires.
Yeah. Yeah. The next movie is a monster movie, I think.
There you go. That's a little bit more. And that's how you kind of evolve a legacy of or a franchise like this. Like, you can't do the same movie over and over again. But I like how you go from Blade 1 to Blade 2. It feels like a natural progression. And I would think, like, if we had had a proper third movie, it would have been more with, like, Dracula as the big head at that point. Because that's in the comic books, too. And that could have been adapted as, you know, something akin to, like, a one-on-one, like, two bad motherfuckers going at each other.
Well, the problem is La Magra was supposed to be a demon.
Yep.
He was battling vampires, then he battles monsters, and then he should battle a demon. So it should have been your characters with the vampires like you have with the council. Then you have your monsters with the crossbreeds that they had. Then you could have him fight some ungodly beast like Dracula. But it doesn't. They made Dracula Drake out to be a monster again. So it was boring. It was already done. It was nothing that hadn't already been seen. And it was bland. The way they wrote it was bland. So their execution was even worse. I don't know.
Yeah, just making me think of stuff. That's all.
So anyway, this movie.
Yeah, what else do you like about this Blade movie here, Kevin?
You know, I would be remiss not to point out Whistler. I love Whistler.
If you didn't bring it up, that was going to be my big thing.
Like, for a movie titled Blade, some of the best lines were delivered by Whistler. Like, Nipplehead. I don't know if Nipplehead was this one or the next one, but
I think it's the next one, actually. 'Cause I don't remember that when I was watching this back.
I love Abraham Whistler's character. I love the closeness that he had with Blade. I love the sincere closeness that Blade had with Whistler. Like, that's my dad, all that he knew of having a dad.
This guy brought me back to some sort of a center to where I could do something about vampires in this world. Otherwise, he was just another starving little vampire hybrid.
Yeah. And what Chris Christopherson understood is he needed to be just as badass of a character as Wesley Snipes needed to be, and he was able to do that. He made Whistler just as bad as Blade, being a human, just as bad as being Blade.
Exactly, especially when he shows up as why are you laughing at me? Donald Logue is yelling at Wesley Snipes, and he's like, I'm expecting company. And then all of a sudden the huge explosion from the wall, and you got Whistler there just going, you miss me?
And he's such a crotchety motherfucker too. I love him so much.
Yeah, and I love him as a badass. He also helps kind of accentuate the world building too, where he does mention, though, me and Blade are out there killing things, and if you select others. So it does set up that there's other people out there that are working towards dealing with the vampire problem.
Yes. Yeah.
And that becomes the big crutch for Trinity when we get there. So.
And it briefly mentions in the TV series that there's also the werewolf issue out there too.
With Mark Spector.
Yes.
So I caught that.
You're like, oh, cool.
I'm like, I think they were hopefully maybe trying to do something with Moon Knight early on.
That would have been fucking awesome.
Damn
But
right.
you know how they were selling their rights and shit, especially back then.
No kidding. But now there is a fun little tidbit about Blade and Whistler. It almost wasn't Chris Christopherson. It could have
No.
either been Patrick McGowan, who was from The Prisoner, or it could have been John Voight.
Oh,
They were both in the running to be Whistler, everybody. I think we got the best choice, to be honest. Patrick would have been fine. I don't know if we would have gotten the same kind of inflections and gruffness that we wanted. The only one I think who could have done it other than Chris is probably like Charlton Heston. But at that point, he was probably a bit too old for this. He was a bit too old to even be doing the Planet of the Apes remake. So,
yeah, because he was looking pretty old in Wayne's World too.
yeah.
And that was what, 91, 92, somewhere around there.
92. I might be wrong. Correct us in the comments.
Yeah. But yeah, he was pretty up there at that point. I guess John Voight, I'm surprised he didn't get the role, honestly.
Well, that's a bigger name, I would say, at that time.
Yeah, at the
that
time. But golly, what a piss show that would have been. And I don't mean that in a good way. Like,
No.
I think of like the quality of Anaconda.
That's a fun movie, but yes, I do agree with you on that.
I hated Anaconda. Like, I like the riffs of it. I'll watch the riff tracks or Master Pancake of it all day long. But to sit and watch the movie, I'm very uncomfortable. I hate it. Like,
I haven't seen it since I watched it in the theater. So what does that tell you? I enjoyed it, and I'm like, that's a one-time watch. I'm never going back to that.
I hate J-Lo, dude. Like, everything about her. She ruined the Batman.
Sorry, Ben. Twice. Well, speaking of ruining anything, we should probably talk about the bad with Blade.
Okay, so with this movie, there's only one bad for me, and that's the goddamn ending. The entire movie is a 10 until they get to the big bad, which is a blood spirit, a CGI blood spirit that he can't actually fight. So it just makes everything come to a halt.
Yeah.
I did not care for that. And we've seen the production stills. Like, if you have this on DVD, watch the special features. They show you the production stills of what they intended to do with the ending.
No,
And
they
even-
actually have the alternate ending. It was an actual alternate ending for it, where it was just a tornado blood gush.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So there are some deleted scenes. One is the final battle, and then the ending is different. He doesn't end up in Russia. When he's finished talking with the doctor, he looks off in the distance, and there's somebody standing on a roof watching him from there. And that's supposed to set up the sequel. And what nobody really liked, the full tornado storm of La Magra looked terrible. Looked terrible as a deleted scene. And I like the change they made. So they made the right decision here, but we still had this version of La Magra, and it's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man getting heated up in front of a fire.
Yeah. With HPV and mumps and everything else, like,
Damn right.
it's genital warts, the movie. It just wasn't cool. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I like the sword fighting until he cut Frost in half and then the body separated and pulled it back together. Now with better special effects, like even like 5 years later, I think it would have looked a lot better. I wouldn't do it today because it would look even worse, in my opinion, because this would be a Marvel thing. I don't trust them. I think it will look just as shitty as it did back in 98.
Probably, because this, like, liquidy CG just it doesn't need to be. Liquidy things don't look neat like that. You look at the way that they tried to make Venom's tendrils, and for the most part, they're okay. They're just never quite right.
Yeah. And just for putting it out there, I'm looking at the back of the standard Blu-ray that's out there. That deleted footage is not on that. It is on my DVD though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you want that, I'll make a copy of that for you and send it over to you. Or it might actually be on YouTube for all I know.
Oh no, I have it. I have it. I just didn't know that they omitted it from the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I did not either. But I would have to go get that 4K to see if it's on there or not. But
wow. I mean,
yeah,
it's worth watching. Like, it really is worth watching. Like, just
just
so
like,
you could
oh.
appreciate what they did, and then you're
yeah.
and then you're still kind of like, well, God, that's even worse. But I
mean, what we got is better. It's just not that much better.
Yeah, like they could have figured something else out to make Frost equal to Blade by the end.
Yeah.
Or give him a leg up on Blade somehow.
Yeah. I know they were trying to go big with it, but that was probably a messed up here.
Yeah. Now, could you have made him look like Lamagra in the comics? Maybe.
Maybe.
Eh,
I don't know.
It wouldn't have looked that much better. So I don't know. I don't know. It would have been hard to do Lamagra.
Yeah. I mean, it was great
Well,
up until that part. So everything was building up and it's just like down.
Just show running blood. Like, I don't know. I would have done it like blood running over a face, like Carrie. You see it on Carrie. Just don't show the flesh, show the blood running over the face and eyes. I don't know.
And if it was a little more MTV style, I would have played Dead Skin Mask over something like that.
Dead Skin
From
Mask.
Slayer. Yeah, Slayer reference, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly down to like the CGI problems and the Lamagra here. That's about all I got for bad, though. Like, it's a 2-hour movie. It does not freaking feel like it anytime I watch this movie.
No, it's a fast flick. The only thing the only character that's stupid is the Doctor not realizing why Blade has to do what he does. That's a little cliche, but it's how you write movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, this is a pretty perfect flick. Like, it was one of the hottest movies that came out that year.
Yeah. Now, while it did like pretty good at the box office, it didn't like set the world on fire, but it did well enough to make people take notice and be like, "Ooh, what can we do now? Let's talk about getting into Punisher in a few years and stuff like that."
Yeah, like, it really gave them the opportunity to be like, we could make money with the other IPs, because Sony was telling them, and Sony only bought Spider-Man because, quote unquote, nobody gives a shit about the rest of the Marvel characters.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Like, the Avengers were bottom tier, and by 2008, they turned the Avengers into top tier.
Well, and from what I remember, like, freaking Guardians of the Galaxy was like a C-list title, and even Tony Stark Iron Man was considered like the B team for Marvel.
Yes.
Like, it was all X-Men and Fantastic Four before that.
Pretty much, yes. Like, the Avengers had their place. Iron Man had his place, I guess, but nothing was as popular as X-Men was at the time. And the movies really fucked up X-Men, I think. Really
once you got to the...
Because it needed to be more like Matrix.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to get into X-Men discussion.
Well, see, this did a wonder of things because it showed you that a comic book movie could be adult.
Yes.
This in tone was an adult story. They made X-Men more adult. Now, I guess X-Men always had its adult themes and was an adult story, but
very true.
They made it more stylized because Matrix needed to be more stylized. And they thought it was stylized because this. Well, no, this was just cool. Like, this was the way it looked in the comic book in a way, for the most part. Like, it looked cool. So it needed to look stylish for the Matrix, because this, anyway, like, it set upon a trend. Some of it worked out really well that lasted too long. But some of it worked out well, like the black cloaks, black latex, black everything, instead of having our yellow spandex.
Yeah.
I'm digressing. I'm zero pointing again. I'm sorry.
Well, welcome to 0 Point Reviews, everybody. That's what we do here.
It happened eventually.
All right, Kevin. Judgment time.
Judgment. Oop, that's a titty. Oop, that's a whistler. Hey.
Donald. Woohoo.
God,
God, he was so good. He was such a twat.
So when I first saw this, I was living with my cousin. I just had to drop out of college, and I was living with my cousin at the time. And we were eating dinner, and he got this on VHS, and he's like, "Have you ever seen this movie?" He's like, "It's fucking awesome." And I said, No, I haven't." And we're watching it, and of course, you go through that first 5 minutes where you're just like, your jaw hits the floor because you've never seen a fight sequence like that club scene. But then my cousin is laughing his ass off at everything Donald Logue says until he gets to the point where he's going, "I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to be a naughty vampire god." My cousin's choking on his cigarette, laughing on his steak. Like,
Well, and I love Frost's reaction to him too, where he's just standing there going like, "Yeah, sure you are. You ain't getting none of this shit."
but he loved him though. That was the
Yeah.
thing. Like, that really was his best friend. Like, he truly did love Donald, I think.
Yeah.
Like, he trusted him. That was his henchman.
Yeah.
He really was a dumb twat.
God, he was so good at playing a prick. It's so hard to watch him, like, in hindsight. Like, when I was watching Gotham and I realized who he was, I'm like, he's doing a great job, but man, I keep thinking about when he was a real dick in Blade. He gets all the names in the book because he's so good in Blade.
Yeah, he really does. And it's the whole, "I'm going to be naughty." I've carried that with me for almost 30 years now since this movie came out. And it's like, it's still the funniest goddamn delivery of any line I've ever heard.
Yeah, I wrote down Quinn is such a fucking prick.
But I mean, that was part of the fun of this movie. It was naughty. It was savage. It was fun.
It was dark.
Yeah, like, I've never not wanted to watch this movie. I've never had a bad time watching this movie.
No.
I've never watched this movie and been bored, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen this movie. Like,
It's been a lot for me, I'll tell you that.
yeah, I can't say this was the best movie out of the 90s. I can't say this is the best action movie of the 90s. I can't say this is the best Marvel movie ever made. But it is one of the most enjoyable films ever made. Like, easily one of the most enjoyable movies that, like, everybody knows about. Everybody's seen it. I don't know anyone that's got a bad word against this flick.
Yeah, I don't either. And as far as, like, I'm concerned, this is easily a top 10 favorite movie of mine, like, ever. And it's been that way for a very long time. Like, it's hard for me to even point out another vampire movie that's better than the original Blade. Maybe the original Ultraviolet, as far as, like, this kind of style of vampire movie. But as far as vampire movies goes, there's plenty of better movies overall that are scarier. We got Robert Eggers doing Nosferatu coming up in December. That should be a pretty good foray into scary vampires yet again. This was still a bit of a vampires can be sexy without being Twilight. So I still love the aggressiveness. I love the ferocity of the vampires. Like, once they went to clamp in, it was scary, and it was aggressive, and it was full of blood. So what more could you ask for? It's a great action movie. Like you were saying, like, is it the best action movie of the 90s? No. Is it the best vampire movie of the 90s? Debatable. Is it the best Marvel movie of the 90s? Probably. And especially of the 90s.
It was better than Fantastic Four, but it's
And Punisher with Dolph. Although that's 89. I'm sorry, everybody.
That's true, but this that we'll digress on that one.
Yeah, but I absolutely adore this movie. It's absolutely worth having in the collection. I will always be watching those CGI special effects, being like, I remember when those looked dope in the theater.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
and then you get to La Magra, and it's like, yeah, they really didn't. I do remember in the theater, like, I don't know about everybody else, but I was just like, ooh, that doesn't look good.
Nobody cheered. Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but like, I don't.
The ice skating up a hill line got the biggest cheer out of everybody.
I bet.
That I remember that.
I remember my cousin laughing his ass off. What got me was, motherfucker, you out of your damn mind?
When they're shooting at him with guns. Oh my god.
That was the part that killed me. I'm just gonna like, I see you.
I did not know that, and I put that in at the beginning of our show.
It's one of my,
You out of your damn mind?
you out of your damn mind.
God. I can't get over the dialogue at times. It's just so fun and quippy.
And natural. It's a fucking naturally flowing film. It really is. Like,
I would love to know if Wesley even like improv like any of that. Where they're like, just say, are you out of your damn minds? And he was really like, you motherfucker. Like if something almost nicked him and he's like, motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind? Cut, clip it, go to print.
Put it in there somehow. Find a place.
Editor, you're a pro. Make it work. I had so much fun watching this again, though.
Yeah.
And it's perfect timing for Halloween, month of October. And I don't know about our brand new Blade movie next year. I'm still having my doubts about that. But at least with this Blade, this will always hold a special place in my heart. Love talking about it. Love watching it again. And everybody else should get a chance to watch this too. So please do.
But where can you watch this right now, Jeff?
Well, you can acquire this off of Amazon in our affiliate links down below in our description.
Or you could stream it on Bravo. Bravo. Fucking Bravo! Not Peacock, not Max. Fucking Bravo!
I forgot about that. You mentioned that yesterday. And I'm like, you sure you don't want me to rip this movie for you? You're like, no, I know this movie by heart. And you said Bravo, and I'm like, what? You could have said any other network channel, and I would have been like, okay, I get it. Like AMC, is doing like 31 days of horror sort of thing. Oh, God.
Yeah, because everything else that we've looked up that's been like a Universal movie has been on Peacock, obviously.
Or minimum on Prime. You might have to pay the rental fee of like $3 or $4, but Bravo.
But they put Blade on fucking Bravo.
It could have been worse.
Like,
it could have been the Hallmark Channel.
Tremors is on there too, but it's also on Peacock.
Okay.
Like, but for whatever reason, they're like, no, Halloween time, Bravo gets Blade.
Yeah.
Stay back, Peacock.
We're watching you. We're gonna sit
You got
Whistler on
Abigail.
your ass.
You got Abigail and Chucky. Go fucking do your
Go play in
thing.
those sandboxes in the Conjuring universe, because I guess you're doing another one of those too.
Yeah, the last one. Anyway, hopefully it's
Alright.
that succubus story.
Well, Kevin, you got any final thoughts?
No, just that this is a perfect movie for this time of year. Like, there's really no wrong time to watch this. It's not the scariest movie on earth, but it is one of the most fun horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I would really classify it as a horror movie, but it does have horror elements to it. I think the next one's more the horror movie, though.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that. It's got some mad scientists, it's got some monsters, it's got some killing. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And it picks up right where we leave off. So at least we got that for us.
That was the happiest accident of all between these two flicks, was the Russia scene between.
Damn right. Like, so that at least there's some nods to that, even though they retcon a thing or two as far as like what happened in this movie doesn't exactly play out as you thought, because in the next movie they kind of fix a thing or two. I'm not complaining because it gave us Whistler back, but you know, not spoiler alert. The movies have been out for over 20 fucking years. Get a grip.
Or go see it already. Jesus.
Yeah, go buy the Blu-rays down below. Add it to the collection. It absolutely belongs in your collection. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't wait to see where this is gonna fucking stream. Bravo.
yeah, because you never know, it might end up on the Hallmark Channel. That'd actually be kind of fucking funny.
When NBC buys that too. Oh wait, they did. Never mind.
Oh, so forget that mess, but don't forget watching Blade. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Hit that like button on the way out. And when you subscribe, hit that little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content. And thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time on Blade 2.